starting with the first thing, I said this yesterday. Actually, I actually thought it was a little bit earlier, but I said this yesterday, and this was in reaction to a Doechii tweet that I saw. And if you are not familiar with Doechii, she's a TDE artist, and she has really risen into the upper echelon of artists, mainly female artists, last year after her breakout project, whatever you want to call it. She calls it a mixtape, but at this point, like mixtape, album, whatever, it's a project. But her mixtape Alligator Bites Never Heal had real good critical acclaim. She actually won an award for it too. But she be getting a lot of backlash. People think that she's an industry plant. People think she came out of nowhere. People think that her label TDE spent a lot of budget on her. A lot of mainly Nicki Minaj fans were starting to manufacture beef between those two, and she had a couple controversies on some things that she said that rubbed some people the wrong way. Shout out to Cook with the 39 months. He said, "Who cares?" This guy. Anyway, so I saw that tweet. It was a random tweet that went viral, and it said that Doechii has canceled her festival tour. So I don't know if it was, I'm pretty sure it wasn't her festival alone, but her actual appearances at these festivals, she canceled it. And they said for no reason given. And this person immediately went to hate, right? This person immediately went to hate, and they were like, "Oh, because this what happens when the bots," because pretty much anybody who's associated with TDE uses bots now. That's just a narrative that pretty much any Kendrick S. Like I said, this is going to continue here. Anything that's associated with Drake or Kendrick or anything adjacent to it is going to get ridiculed, and they've been pretty much on every TDE artist head ever since the beef started, right? So they were like, "Oh, the bots, the bots can't do nothing about that because she sold 11K." Like, I'm like, okay, so we are still to this day, and we're still going to continue to associate album sales and ticket sales. If you are going on tour, we are going to continue to associate this with an artist's overall talent. So I said in this tweet, I said the true worst thing to happen to hip hop, because we're just talking about hip hop, because this doesn't happen in any other genre, and I said this here. I said is the number watcher. This is the true worst thing to happen to hip hop. Excuse me, my voice is going out. They look at everything like ticket and album sales and always try to associate this with an artist being bad. I was like, what happened to the genre I love? Or like, no other music genre does. There's no one. Like, you don't see country artists beefing with each other. You don't see them comparing album ticket sales. You don't see anybody who likes those genres or likes those artists in the country genre comparing ticket sales. You don't see this in reggae. You don't see this in EDM. You don't see this in any other genre. You barely even see this in pop. Pop has their own separate stand base, and sometimes they go at it, and every now and then, they'll push some ticket sales and album sales to try to prove their argument for their favorite artist, but it's still nowhere near the magnitude that it is in hip hop. And I'm like, why is this a thing in hip hop? Why are we counting ticket sales and album sales and trying to associate that with an artist's overall talent? So I said this tweet. A couple people said some things here, and I want to point out one main person here, because what they said was very interesting, and they probably came from a good place. But this person said, so album so album sales and the amount of money you produce doesn't count. And I proceeded to reply. I said no, it does not determine the overall quality and talent of an artist. And that's true. Album sales and ticket sales do not determine the overall quality and talent of an artist. Now I continue here. Ticket and album sales equate to popularity. So newsflash, just in case you weren't aware, the selling out stadiums, arenas, wherever you're at, and your overall album sales, because everybody cares about the first week, and then people care about what, how many albums that you sell overall, whether you go gold, platinum, double platinum, triple platinum, diamond at the end of its run after 10 years, blah, blah, blah. So people only care about really first week sales and then what it sells at the very end. But I'm like, even still, that doesn't necessarily equate to the artist's talent. Yes, it has some merit, but it doesn't always equate to you having talent. It equates to your popularity. I said there have been so many rappers, and we're just talking about hip hop here, in this particular instance. But there have been many rappers that have sold well, but the projects have been subpar compared to their other projects, and this happens all the time. And I proceed to reply to this person, and I'll again because they said something else. But have you heard of the sophomore slump? Have you heard of the sophomore slump? Like this happens all the time. Like an artist may, build up that hype and then they'll come out with their first project, right? Their breakout project. And for many critics and fans alike, they may deem that a classic, right? And then how can you top your classic? Because it's up here, right? If it's a classic, it's up here. How can you top that with your sophomore album? It's hard. It's almost impossible. This is why a lot of people get nervous and they don't want to drop another project after that because they know the anticipation is going to be so high and it's going to be almost impossible to top your first, especially if it's deemed as a classic. So a lot of artists, especially in the hip hop realm, do have that sophomore slump. And then you have the critics and fans who are already anticipating your next project. They have such high expectations. As soon as that album comes out and it's not to what they thought it was going to be at, if it's not better than your last project, then some people will again throw out that word mid, trash, ass, the people that can't properly articulate. And then you'll have the critics and they'll use bigger words and they'll be more detailed, but even they still may say, hey, it's not better than your last, right? Because they didn't do this, they tried too much, blah blah blah. So I say that to say this, like it happens all the time. It happens with your favorite artist. It happens with the most popular artist. It may happen with an artist that's not as popular. It may happen with an artist that you may never know, right? So I proceeded to say there are rappers that can mop the floor with your favorite, but they aren't as popular, so they don't sell well. I can name some rappers on the top of my head: Absol, Royce the 5'9", Black Thought, like. Those are three of, as far as we're talking about like overall rap quality, who can actually spit. I deem those, and I will put those three up against almost anybody who you think is the best rapper alive, and I think that they will smoke them lyrically. Okay, I think that they will smoke them lyrically, but guess what? They don't sell as well as a Kendrick, a Drake, a J. Cole, a Tyler the Creator. Does that mean that Tyler, Kendrick, J. Cole, and Drake are better rappers? Not necessarily, because we grade them on different scales. If you truly care, you grade them on different scales. But I don't think that Absol is trash compared to Kendrick. I don't think that Royce the 5'9" is trash compared to J. Cole, just because they don't sell as well as them, right? It's a popularity contest, okay? You deem one person more popular than the other. Maybe they appeal to more fan bases. Maybe their music spans across not just hip hop, but other genres, other fan bases, other demos. Maybe they're more international. Maybe they spread across the entire world, like Drake. He is an international artist. Kendrick, at this point, he is an international artist, right? These are people that are known worldwide. Maybe Absol isn't known in as many countries. Maybe Royce the 5'9" isn't known in as many countries. Black Thought isn't known. Maybe the Roots is worldwide, but still, I don't think that at this point they are more popular than those artists that I've named. They are at the tippy top of the echelon, and that's okay. They are also good. They're also great, in my opinion. They're not good. They're great. But you see what I'm saying, right? Like, we're talking just lyrically, and we're talking about, again, this is all subjective, but still popularity. You can pretty much measure that. You know who's super popular, and you know who's not popular. So that's what I'm trying to get at, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. There are rappers who can really spit, who can rap, who care about hip hop, who care about the culture, but they're just not as popular. So yeah, their project comes out, people won't talk about it. The critics will barely pick it up because it's not going to get them views. It's not going to get them clicks. But anytime anything involving Drake or Kendrick pops up, they're on it immediately. They're on it immediately because guess what? They're popular. And that's it. It's not rocket science, but we have to stop equating popularity to automatically being good, because there are some very popular rappers who I think are they don't really rap, right? They just have certain niches about them that they have garnered a specific audience, and they're a cult, and it's a lot of them. So they make them popular. I can name Uzi, I can name Cardi, like those are two, like they resonate with the YNs. NBA Youngboy, like you can name all these young cats that like they just resonate with the younger audience. They're super popular. They have those cults online. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are better rappers or better overall artists than some of the other guys that I named. So y'all gotta stop doing that. Okay? We have to stop diminishing or dismissing another artist just because they're not as popular as your favorite. Okay? Again, this is all subjective, but there are definitely baselines that you can measure here. Okay? And then I cleaned it up and ended here with, I said they're rappers that can map the floor with your favorite, but yeah, they aren't popular, so they don't sell as well. Because again, I don't know what the overall measure is now of ticket sales. I guess pretty much if you don't sell out, then you're trash now, as far as like going on a tour. And album sales, I don't know. I guess if you sell under 100K, that you didn't do good. I don't know. I don't know what the measurement is now. But back in my day, if you went gold, you were good, and that's 100K. So if you went gold, then nobody cared. If you didn't go platinum, people didn't bash you. And it's almost impossible to go platinum nowadays, because like the rules have changed a lot. The rules have changed a lot. So we don't know what a stream means. Everybody's streaming now. Nobody's actually buying physical. What's that? Like, people are buying vinyl again. Like, vinyl was very popular, but people aren't buying CDs. Like, you go into Target or Walmart, you're not really seeing CDs anymore. People aren't going out of their way to do that. But back in my day, that's what we did, because that's pretty much all that we had until really like iTunes started becoming a thing. And then when iTunes became a thing, then I just started like ripping my CDs and then like making my library on there, and then streaming came. So, now everybody streams, and I don't buy physical anything. I don't even buy anything off iTunes anymore. So, things have changed. So it's very difficult to even measure like what's gold, what's platinum. But like, first week sales back in the day were very different. So people would sell very easily over, like if they're super popular, like over 500,000, first week. We're talking first week here. We're not saying overall, but nowadays, if you're really popular, you'll be good if you do like 300 first week. But I don't know. Again, I don't know what the measurement is of what's good and what's trash nowadays, but I would assume at least 100 up. I would assume at least 100 up now. But even still, that still does not determine whether an artist is good or not. Like, where did we get that from? I totally do not understand. Look at today's why you laugh when people are trying to downplay Mos Def when he said, "Oh boy, music like elevated me." Yeah, because again, they don't know Mos Def, bro. They don't really know him. That's one thing you hear about music today. Well, art is subjective. When it comes to rap, we always differentiate the great from the good from the yeah. Like I said, we gotta stop doing that. And then finally he said, so if the project is ass, how does it sell? If the rap skills are so nice, why doesn't it show in their numbers? You can't sell records off just being popular. You have to sound like something, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. Like, what are you talking about? So I followed up here. I don't know if he's going to continue to respond, but I said, because people tend to buy albums based on your clout level or what you did the last time. So it's going into, again, what I was saying. If you drop your first project and people just revere it like to the highest of the mountains, then automatically, whenever you drop your next project, there's going to be that anticipation there, right? There's going to be that anticipation that you're going to drop another banger. So a lot of people don't do their research. They will just blindly buy because they are now fans of you. And I would equate that as being a super fan now at this point. I said consumers don't always preview before they purchase. Now, I mean, you could just go on any streaming service, and like if you still buy albums, then you could just stream something and that's your preview. But back in my day, you couldn't really stream, you couldn't really preview music unless you physically went to a store, right? Like Sam Goody, FYE, your favorite local record store. Like they had those booths, and they would have like all the like this week's albums, they'll have them lined up and they'll have those stations there with the headphones, and you can listen to, you can either preview them. Sometimes they have previews, or sometimes they let you listen to the whole album in the store. So that's how we used to, you know, quote unquote preview our music before we bought it. But nowadays things are super easy. Go on your computer, go on your phone, and you just stream, you know. you just stream. So it's super easy to, you know, consume music nowadays. So I don't understand why people just don't even preview, you know, before you decide to ultimately purchase or do whatever before you consume, like fully consume the music. And I said the informed consumers do, though. They still, you know, at least preview or listen to an album once, or listen to a couple of songs before they, you know, make their overall, you know, decision on that. And I said we've seen a good number of rappers flop after their breakout project, again talking about the sophomore slump. And I said, but it'll still sell decently. And again, that goes back to what I was saying before. If you are automatically anticipating your favorite artist's next project, then you're going to just blindly buy it. You're going to just blindly listen to it. Now, you may feel, you know, different afterwards after you listen to it, but still you'll blindly consume it before you know, make your decision. You don't do any research or preview any singles before you ultimately consume the album, right? So that's what people do. And that's how you have these artists that will drop another project and it'll still sell well, but it ain't good, right? And shout out to Spacebound here. He brought up a really good point. This is the most recent point, but I can name another one. So he said Bryson Tiller was on Roy and Marl's podcast today, and he was saying that his second album is his worst album, and he got a lot of flack for this. I remember this. Bryson Tiller had a classic on his hands with Trap Soul. People were, oh my God, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing, don't, like, it was a meme for a while. That was a meme for a long time. So Bryson Tiller, he was hot as fish grease when he came out with Trap Soul, right? And so he continues here. He said they kept saying, but it went platinum, right? So Roy and Mal are trying to equate going platinum as being good. But Bryson Tiller got flack for that second album because it didn't amount up to Trap Soul, because Trap Soul in a lot of people's minds was a classic. So if you don't meet those expectations, then people are going to say it's trash. Simple, right? It's simple. So he continues here. He said when he talked about how it was disappointing himself. So even Bryson Tiller, after catching the flack, was like, man, I'm disappointed in this project. Like it didn't amount up to what I did with Trap Soul. So he finishes up. He said, of course, it was going to the numbers after Trap Soul, again because of the anticipation. I can name another one, and I really don't understand how people really got on him about this. Jesus Christ, now I can't think what's freaking name. I like had it in my mind the entire time. Jesus Christ. Roddy Ricch, oh my goodness. So Roddy Ricch is another example. Oh my God, when he had his debut album, again, hot as fish grease, The Box was a certified double trip. I don't even know what The Box ended up at, you know, at the end of its run, but The Box was everybody's joint when that song came out. White people, black, anybody you can name was memeing that song, singing that song, remixing that song. It was ridiculous. Roddy Ricch was hot as fish grease. His first album was certified banger. He dropped his second project, and again, he had such high anticipation, such high expectations from people because of his breakout singles on his first album. And when he dropped that second album, why I thought it was good, a lot of people did not, because it did not have that breakout hit. It did not have anything that even amounted to, that even sniffed The Box, bro. You know, that actually sounds funny. That actually sounds hilarious. Sniffing The Box. All y'all virgin don't know that. But it didn't even amount to what that single did. It had not one of those singles that even, I don't even know what the singles were from that second album, to be honest. I still liked it, in my opinion. And I didn't have those high expectations. I feel like I was the only one in the world that didn't have those expectations to amount to or even come close to what he did with his first album. But a lot of people did, and they crapped all over that album. And ever since then, I'm gonna be honest, Roddy Ricch has not been the same. His career has been on a downward trajectory. I still like Roddy Ricch. I still think he's a good artist, but after that second album, he never really recovered. Now we gonna see what happens with this Navy album. We're gonna see what happens with this Navy album. I'm hoping that it's good. I'm hoping that people will embrace him again, and he does maybe have a hit that comes close to the box. I don't know. Maybe he won't, but if he doesn't, I think people are gonna crap on him again. I think this is probably his last chance because he is building up a little bit of hype for this album. So anyway, that's my other like major, like most recent example. But it was the same thing with him. Like the sophomore slump, bro, it hits a lot more people than you think. It hits a lot more people than you think. And that's my point, right? Does that mean that Roddy Ricch is a bad artist? No, because obviously he was super popular with his first album, but now y'all not messing with him anymore because his second album didn't amount to what y'all thought it was. The same thing with Bryson Tiller. I don't think that Bryson Tiller was able to fully recover from that, but Bryson Tiller kept dropping albums though. He just dropped an album. He's doing like a double album now, and I actually like this album that just came out. But he mostly raps on this one. And some people kind of ain't messing with it, but I like Bryson Tiller when he raps, so you know, me personally. So I like it. I think he had a couple of hits on there that I like. So but again, it's not what people were really looking for with Bryson. They want him to sing more. So you know, people kind of were messing with it like I was. So like I said, I don't really like it's a small number of artists, and I'm like really setting a high bar for them, because I just kind of know, like, you know, artists want to try different things. You know, they may be in a different mindset. You never know with people, right? So you know, I just take the good with the bad. Like, I'll tell you if something's ass or not, but generally, like, if I like an artist, you know, I give everybody grace. The only person who I didn't give grace, you know, I kept trying, was Logic. You know, Logic really got to a point. I'm like, bro, like it's really hard to to continue messing with you, bro. Like you kind of just after that suicide stuff, and that whole, you know, every song rapping about him being mixed and saying nigga, he can't even say nigga right. Like, oh boy, it was a mess with him. So he was one that, like, I loved him during this mixtape days, during the whole Sinatra, you know, mixtape run, but you know, after probably his second album, it just kind of started falling downhill with him, and I was like, man, I don't know if I could continue listening to you. Like, I gave you so many chances. So he's one artist I could tell off the top of my head that I kind of like. I tried with him, right? So that's my point, right? That's my point. You know, I need for people to stop. I need for people to just enjoy whatever you enjoy. And if you don't even actively listen to someone who you're like crapping on, then why are you even talking about them, right? I can guarantee the majority of people who are talking about Doechii, for example, don't even listen to her. You know, they probably just heard a couple of her songs, mainly the Anxiety song, because, you know, lately that's been, you know, her thing, and that's what a lot of people know her for. So I bet you the majority of the people don't even listen to her. You know, they just look at album sales and go, oh, you're not a good artist. And I'm like, Doechii had one of my favorite albums last year. Had one of my favorite albums. That was almost my number one, to be honest. Actually, it probably was my number one. I kind of tossed between that and then, you know, Surprise with GNX. But I think that Doechii had an amazing freaking album, and I support her. I'm happy for getting her just due. I don't think she's an industry plant. I think she's an amazing rapper. I think she's one of the best rappers as far as female rappers out. So, you know, it's just my opinion, but I think she's one of the best female rappers out right now. I like Doechii, you know, and I wasn't familiar with her, but that album or mixtape, whatever you want to call it, project was really, really good. So I don't know what people are talking about, but people are just crapping on her for no reason. And I'm like, y'all don't even listen to her. So why do you even have an opinion on somebody who you never listen to and you don't like anyways? Like, just shut up. You know, what's the point? But, you know, people are just so stupid now, and they just constantly equate album sales and ticket sales to you being good. And I'm like, that's not how this works, bro. Like, again, this is subjective, but that's not how this works. You know, I think that there are a lot of quality projects, and, you know, they just don't sell well. Ab-Soul's last project didn't sell well, but I like Ab-Soul's last project. But again, it's with TDE, so people started hopping on that bandwagon, started that agenda, and now here you go. Now everybody think Ab-Soul was trash again, and he about to go on tour with Rhapsody and Joey Badass. So shout out to him, because he been wanting to go on tour. I know he was ranting about it, so I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. So So yeah, so that's my conversation about that.